let's get to the questions.
So I know you've been working with a off-track thoroughbred, Ragtime Rebel. Just curious what some of the differences are in bringing him along versus some of the warm bloods that you've imported.
Yeah, so I did just get started with Ragtime Rebel this season. Actually, I had him just about a year. I got him right around this time last year. And I hadn't actually produced a thoroughbred in a long time. That's how I sort of got my career started, but I haven't had one in a while. And there are some differences between the thoroughbreds and the warm bloods, particularly as young horses. The training process, though, is actually very similar. I'd say the thoroughbreds tend to be more forward-thinking. They want to go in a straight line as fast as they can because that's what they're bred to do. So I have to spend a little more time with the dressage, making sure that they are working on exercises to get them elastic, lots of lateral work there, lots of gymnastics in the show jumping. But I have to say, typically the cross country on the thoroughbreds tends to be a little bit easier. They're very forward-thinking horses compared to the warm bloods now. Obviously I'm really generalizing here, but for the most part, I think the thoroughbreds, the easy part for them is going to be the cross country, and then the dressage and the show jumping will be a little bit more difficult for them than the warm blood horses. So I tell you what, I love all the horses in my barn. They're all pretty good, but Rebel's been kind of a treat to go out and take cross country as a young horse. He just really gets it, and I think that's a testament to the thoroughbred blood in him. All right, next question.
Hey John, do you prefer to ride mares or geldings at the upper level, and why?
I would say I've had a lot more geldings than mares at all levels, and I would say that part of that just has to do with resaleability. If the horses end up not working out, geldings are typically quite a bit easier to sell. But as far as top horses, I think when you get a good mare, you always hear it, but I do believe it's true. If you get a good mare, they really will take care of you. They are more likely to look after the rider and bond with the rider than a gelding is. I think geldings are, basically a little bit more simple, a little bit more of a safe bet, and probably statistically, I haven't done the research, but I would be willing to bet that they work out more often than a mare does. But when a mare works out, they're pretty tough to beat. So I can't say I prefer either. Like I've said before, and I know it sounds hokey, but I just prefer a good horse. But I've ridden some mares at the top level. I've certainly had more success with geldings, but I've got some nice mares, or a nice mare in the barn right now, and she sure looks like she's going to be a superstar. All right, next question.
Okay, so I have a question about safe sport. Not necessarily about safe sport in general, but about safe sport and how it affects your day-to-day life at the farm. So I know that you and Jen are some of the riders who have given opportunities to a lot of working students over the years. Many of them have been under the age of 18. So with the new regulations and suggestions from Safe Sport, how has that affected just kind of your day-to-day operation? Do you still allow working students under the age of 18? How do you deal with that? I feel like with clients, it wouldn't be as complicated because you could just, always have another adult on a course walk, always include another adult in a group text, etc. But when you're talking about working students, that gets a lot more complicated. So just wondering how you guys have dealt with that. And also if you wanted to share your general thoughts on safe sport and all of that, that would be great.
Yeah, so safe sport's kind of the hot topic right now, and it has definitely changed things here at our farm at Holling Eventing in our operation. So we've had a lot of working students over the years, and I think the working student era is done. The girls we have working for us now are all in their 20s, and they live in their own house here on the property, but they are all older. We definitely in the past had girls under the age of 18 who would live here on the farm. The ones that were young and under 18 lived in our house because we were their guardians. We looked after them for their parents. They went to school during the day, and they worked on weekends and in the afternoons for their lessons. And really, I think that's done. It's changed for us for sure. We had our last really good one just leave last year, right before Safe Sport really became a thing. And I can tell you, my wife and I have talked about it, and I don't think we'll be taking them anymore. The couple that we have had, or the one young girl that we do have who still rides with us and comes in and helps out occasionally, she stays in a separate building from us. She does her own thing. If I'm ever talking to or teaching her, I always make sure there's another adult around. Like Safe Sport says, I think that you have to have, we always have to have communication with one of her parents involved in it, so text messages at horse shows, things like that. I think the initial idea of Safe Sport was very good, and I think the implementation of it has been sloppy, to say the least. But I think eventually we'll probably find some sort of middle ground that works for everybody. But I do think that unfortunately it has really changed the way that I, as a trainer and a professional, can sort of pass on the knowledge that I have to the next generation of riders. And I think that the sport in general in this country is going to suffer because of it. I think that we aren't going to have the same horsemen that we used to have. And I know that makes me sound like some sort of an old curmudgeon, but I really believe it's true that we're going to lose a lot of that basic horsemanship. I can't go in the barn at night alone with one of the kids and show them how to properly bandage a horse at the end of the day, or spend that one-on-one time with them in the barn to make sure that they're checking horses' legs, or how to palpate your horse's back. That's all got to be done differently now. Now, it can still be done, but the reality is a lot of operations don't have multiple people to be able to have two adults at all times to teach this stuff to the young up-and-coming kids who are going to one day be the professionals trying to pass that knowledge on to the next generation. So I hope we can get it figured out, but as of right now, I think it's actually a real problem. All right, let's get on to the next question.
Hey John, this is Andy from Wisconsin. We've had a lot of talk about 15 penalties for competitors hitting flags on course. Is this going to be the way that the sport will be going forward? Thanks for answering my question.
Yeah, Andy, it is a big issue, and I think it is part of the sport. The question is going to be, how do we tweak the rule to make it better, right? So I think the first question is 15 points right for that? And I think it needs to be adjusted there. I think 11 penalties to activate a frangible log, or frangible rail, rather, a frangible device. You have to figure that 11 penalties is being assessed instead of the 65 for a fall. So does 15 penalties for what would potentially be a run out at a jump because you hit a flag, does that equate to the 20 penalties that you would have had for the run out? And I think it's pretty obvious it doesn't. 15 as an alternate to 20 does not mathematically correlate to 11 for a frangible device instead of the 65 for a fall. Never mind, you've actually prevented the fall. So I think that needs to be adjusted down to probably 5. I could be argued up as high as 7, but I think that's as much. I don't think it should be worth more than 7 points, and I think 5 is probably a good number. I believe originally that was something that the FEI sent out way back when this rule first came in, was 5 penalties for a flag, and then everything got adjusted and changed. And I think that's where we need to go. It's 5 penalty points for a flag. In my opinion, it should be a flag, period. You knock down a flag at any fence for any reason, it's 5 points. That to me means, yeah, maybe you don't win the competition, but you can still be competitive. It costs more than a pole in the show jumping, and it should. You still would have some gray area with people questioning whether or not it was a run out, and should they be eliminated for continuing on, or was it just a flag? I think that's going to always be a little bit of an issue there. We're going to have to figure that out, going down the route with the video and getting the video reviews better. I also think part of this needs to be that when the officials do the video review, they need to make that video review available to everybody. Right now, they review this video, you never see the official video as a fan of the sport, and then you see clips that people have taken on course, and some of those clips look like horses jump it, and then you watch another clip of the same video, and it looks like they didn't jump it. I remember watching Will Coleman do that water fence at Kentucky this spring, and I watched the first video and said, absolutely, they got it right. No way should he get away without a penalty there. And then I watched another video later in the day from another angle and said, absolutely, he jumped it. There's no way he should get a penalty. So I think whatever the official video is, that needs to be the video that's released when the ground jury or officials make their decision, so that at least the fans of the sport can see what the officials are looking at. And I think that would take away a lot of the questions. Right now, it's just a little bit too much of a secret society. But in the end, yeah, I think it's going to be a part of the sport going forward, and I actually think that's a good thing. All right, let's get one more question today.
Question about one of your current show horses. Is Baby Prophet actually the king of the wild frontier?
Yes, Prophet is actually the king of the wild frontier. He's a cool little horse. He's getting ready for Jockey Club this week. I'm super excited about him. He's going great. He's one of the better young horses that I've had in the program. And, we'll see. I hope he really is the king. And we'll find out this coming weekend on cross country at Jockey Club how much of a king he is. But he sure looks like a rising star. Hey, also, don't forget, this segment only works when you guys send in the questions. So please keep them coming in. It's really simple. All you have to do is video your question on your iPhone or your Android phone or whatever phone you want, or videotape, doesn't really matter. And then email them into me at hollingjohn@gmail.com, or you can even send them in a text to 352-875-8622. Get those questions coming in. So that's it for this week's questions, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in, and hope you enjoyed it. I'll try to be sending some updates from the Jockey Club going forward next week, so keep an eye out for those. Take care.